previous play will go under review.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning into this week's episode of Under Review. My name is Joe DeRosa. You can find me on Twitter /X at show_DeRosa. The Joe does go on because the show goes on despite the craziness that is happening with the beginning of the moving process that is ongoing. But draft is also a week away, folks. It's an exciting time to be a Bills fan, to be a football fan. This time of the year feels like the holiday season. It is just so much fun to evaluate prospects, to keep up with all the trends, the rises, the falls of certain prospects, and to just do so many fun little experiments like mock drafts for the Buffalo Bills. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight, folks. It's a ton of fun to do these live. I always enjoy the comment section and your input on who we should take on the board, as well as being yelled at when we don't take your favorite player. And that is 100% going to happen again tonight, but it's all good. It's all in good fun. So if you are joining us live, thank you for being here. Feel free to drop a like. And if there is a player you see on the board tonight that you want us to take, feel free to let us know. We will read the comics. I will post them as we go on. And when I say we, I never just mean me. I always have a guest. And my esteemed guest tonight is one of my favorite people to get on this show. One half of the Air Raid Hour, Mr. Tilt Money himself, David Tilton, the pride of Dutchess County. David, welcome back to the show. You and Judge have been on a tear with your draft content on your show. So it is exciting to get you here to do this mock draft with me. How you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm good. Judge and I did our preview of the wide receivers last night on Monday's Air Raid Hour. And then right after that, we also pre-recorded our No Matter What show, which is our no matter what player at each position. It's like one of our favorite shows we do every year. And that's going to drop on this Thursday. So people can get that in for us. We only did 8 positions. We skipped offensive line, but we did every other position and put our no matter what players out there. And maybe we'll take a couple of those guys tonight. We'll see. But this is fun for me. Judge and I did not actually do any mock drafts during any of our lead up to our draft coverage for next week on purpose. Judge is swearing them off. And so for me, this is going to be fun to come on another show and do one. I did one with Pat Moran on his show a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, this is fun.
Glad to have you here, man. And yeah, these are a ton of fun to do live. And truthfully, like you guys have, and like Anthony, like everyone on our network has been doing such great detailed breakdowns on each positional group that I felt like if I did one, it'd be doing a disservice. So I just talked about prospects I really liked. I had James Foster on a few weeks ago. I just like did a couple of shows just over the past few weeks where it was like, all right, here are some players, and then here who we like the best fits for the team itself. But mock drafts are just a ton of fun to do live. I said it before. I love evaluating the board, and it's so hard to predict what it's going to look like on all of these days, but you can at the very least get an idea of player value and just kind of scenarios that could occur. And I love doing them, even though it's like writing a wish list to Santa. And when the draft day actually comes by, it's a totally different experience. So David, I know you guys have done the work on your show, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of this mock draft, but I just want to ask you before we get into it. I mean, give me your thoughts on the draft this year, the Bills' needs, the overall value. I mean, I've been asking everyone who's come on this show, but, you know, I really love seeing the difference in opinions, especially when you talk about Bills-related needs, because you'll have people that are very adamant about the secondary being priority, and you'll have D-line truthers like myself. You'll have people who are pounding the table for wide receiver. It's a lot of mixed feelings on how the Bills should approach this draft. What is your take on the Bills this season? What do you think is the pressing need, and what do you expect from them, you know, at any point in this draft?
Yeah, firstly, when it comes to mock drafts, I'll just say, I definitely don't do them as a means of trying to get predictions correct or anything like that. It is more for me a use and an exercise to see where different players are in positions are kind of landing. What combinations do I like to see in the mock drafts? Like, what I mean by that is if I do corner early for the Bills, then what is left for me at edge and vice versa, and so on. So it's not really something I use to be predictive necessarily, but just more for seeing where certain sort of value at different positions seems to be falling. And anyways, as it turns to the Bills, and what I think they would, how they're going to approach this draft, I think that a lot of people believe, and I'm probably one of these people, that it is certainly within the realm of possibility and even maybe probability and even to my desire that they take defense with their first 3 picks. And there's a few reasons I say that. Number one, you have the 2 second rounders. Number two, I know there's maybe a little bit of chatter about taking a wide receiver somewhere in those first 3 picks, but I just wonder about the makeup of that room. Unless you get an absolute stud like a Golden falling to you in the first round, I'm just not sure that taking a wide receiver makes a ton of sense like in the second round, because then I wonder like how they're going to fit into the room. You have Samuel, you have Shakir. You want to see what Coleman's going to do in year 2. You signed Josh Palmer to some pretty decent money. So where does that fit? I'm very much of the opinion that the Bills should take a wide receiver at some point in this draft, because behind those 4, not so sure, right? We've got Shavers and others, but the first 3 picks to me, I find myself constantly feeling like defensive line, corner, and I mean, even a wild card, maybe throw in there a safety if the Bills end up with, let's say, a 3rd round pick somehow. Let's say they trade down from 30 and acquire a 3rd round pick in a trade down, or they trade up with the multiple day 3 picks they have and end up with a 3rd rounder. I wouldn't hate them throwing a move for safety in there at some point late day 2. So that's kind of where I am with it. I think most people expect they're going to take defense early and often. And for me, we'll see how this mock draft plays out, but there's a high likelihood that we'll probably take defense with our first 3 picks.
So I completely agree with that. I am very much expecting the first 3 picks to be defense, with the semi-suspicion that if there is a talented enough wide receiver that falls to them at pick 62, they could do it. So I know they hosted Jalen Royals on a pre-draft visit. That could be a player I could see them saying, well, you know what? Like, if we hit corner and we hit defensive line, I'm willing to bring this player in to round out the receiver room. But for my actual expectations, it is defense with the first 3 picks. Again, when we do our mock draft, maybe it'll fall differently and we might go a different direction. But realistically, I could see it being secondary address and the defensive line address, maybe even a double dip at one of those 2 positions. I think where I've been kind of stuck is I started out going into this draft process as someone who was just D-line, hammer the D-line at pick 30. Let's get it fortified. We need help and run support. I want to get a Bills 1 tech, whether that's a more conventional 1 tech profile or the typical Buffalo Bills 1 tech, which is like a 3 tech that plays a little heavier. I am now at a point where I'm a little more keen to the idea of really hammering the secondary. And let's say at pick 30, you have one of Trey Amos or Siobhan Revel, and then you get to pick 56 and it's like Xavier Watts is on the board. Then I'm kind of sitting here like, I would not be mad at all if their first 2 picks were for the secondary, and then you rounded it out with like an Alfred Collins or a Norman Lott, or even if you wanted to, somehow get back into the 3rd round and go get yourself like a Jamari Caldwell. Those are all options I like too. But I think we're in alignment that defense is the priority in this draft. And truthfully, I just think that this is such a pivotal draft for the Buffalo Bills. And you could say that about any year, but really more so this year too, because you are in a point where you're getting out of a lot of money. You're getting out of the old guard that you've just shed from your team over the last year, right? And you come off the season where you go to the AFC Championship. Now you have an opportunity to really nail this for the defense and fortify what has been kind of your Achilles heel in the playoff runs for the foreseeable future. And if you look back at this Kansas City playoff game, you should really want them to improve in some of those weak areas, like at CB2 and like at interior defensive line, because it seems like this is your opportunity to finally right the wrongs of the past, exercise your demons, create a defense that has stout enough talent on it where you can get more creative in your play calling and in turn create a better product that could sustain you in the playoffs and hopefully get you to the goal you want. So I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, on that point, right, it gives you a chance. Like, Daquan Jones is coming in the last year of his deal. AJ Epinesa is coming into the last year of his deal. CB2 was not impressed with the Dane Jackson signing. I get why they did it, but like did not move the needle at all for me. That should not change the priority
He's
of
not
whether
CB2.
right. And so it's like you also have a chance. Von Miller's gone to with 3 picks potentially totally kind of shift the attitude, I would say, the swagger of this
Mhm.
defense with some early picks. Like you've got guys that have some swagger. I get that. Like Terrell Bernard has swagger. Matt Milano, for what he has left, he has some swagger. Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, okay. But like this defense could use a bit of an attitude upgrade, I would say. A little more swagger. I think we've seen that Josh Allen on the offensive side of the ball, regardless of who's around him, Shakir, whoever, the swagger is going to be there on the offense by the nature of having Josh Allen. I think we need that on the defense, and you can really in 1 year totally change the attitude and the moxie of that defense with these first 3
Mhm.
picks if you really nail them.
I completely agree with that too. And it's kind of like a call and response to the offense last year because when they made that transition from Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady, the offensive structure kind of changed to be more physically sound. And when you have Aaron Cromer coaching up that offensive line, that's what you're going to get out of it. And now the offense is known for its nasty, right? The way they run their gaps, the way that they can kind of push people around and get physical in the trenches and really bully you and command games. That's the world they want to live in. And for this defense, I feel like that's just an excellent point from you that I completely align with. They have a chance to really change their foundation to get stronger at points of weakness, but also just change the attitude. And I think there are pieces there right now that kind of shore that up and kind of lead you to believe like that's already in the process. Like I know people have their doubts about Taylor Rapp, but you can't deny he's a hard hitter and plays with a nasty way, nasty like style. You know, you can look at some of the other pieces. Terrell Bernard's a hard hitting linebacker. He's a dog and he seeks things out pre to post snap and a very aggressive, attentive film studier. You could talk about Milano. There's even Benford. There's so many players on this defense that have that. And it's just a matter of completing it because it feels
Yep.
like an incomplete unit. And I think that that's what this draft can do. If Brandon Beane gets it right, and you're talking, you know, whether that's 9 picks, 10 picks, 5 picks, however they end up with, however many they end up with, if he gets it right, you're talking like a very, very prospective and very high potential future for this team. So it's
Yep.
imperative that I think they get this draft right. And as we said before, defense feels like the moneymaker. I think a high majority, if not every pick except for like 1 or 2, is going to be defense this year. So anything else, Dave, before we kick it off?
No, and I think like other positions on the offensive side, like running back or tight end, where they have Zach Davidson, I get it, but they really kind of made comments about how Dalton Kincaid needs to increase his play strength. It might be nice to round out that room with a really solid blocking type of tight end. There's a couple guys I had in mind there, and at running back, if they end up keeping a lot of these picks, someone that they can bring in potentially and kind of having the waiting in the wings. Now, the worry you have about that is you take a running back that you expect to play, that's 4 guys, right? And I don't know that they want to roster 4 guys unless one of those guys is
Mhm.
really going to be key on special teams. And I don't think Ty Johnson's role is going to change now that he's back.
Nope.
Does that mean Ray Davis takes a back seat? He's certainly not going to go to the practice squad, I wouldn't imagine. So that's an interesting conversation. There are a lot of good running backs in this draft, and the Bills have a lot of picks. What do they do about that position with James Cook's future uncertain beyond 2025, or do they just punt the position until 2026? So that's an interesting
Yeah.
conversation to have as well.
It's so tricky for me on that front because I think what's actually going to happen is they just stick with the running back trio. They have continuity with your offensive line that's also returning everybody. So like, why not keep that intact, even if it is the final year of James Cook? But I also wouldn't be surprised if there is a part of Brandon Beane that has James Cook in the back of his mind of we are willing to make a move. And if the board falls away we like, or if we see a team that really needs a running back, in a spot where they could potentially miss out on someone they wanted, we are willing to pick up the phone and say, hey, we have James Cook. He is on the final year of his deal. Throw us back a third. He's yours. You extend him, and we'll just take somebody in this draft. Like that is a possibility for them. But I think it's not counterintuitive because you are getting someone for the next few years, but just go with the sure thing and hit it next year is also fine by me because I just
Mhm.
feel like you can find running backs every year.
Yep.
And I know
And that
like, oh, sorry, Dave. What?
I was gonna say, and that's kind of where I'm landing, right? I don't think you want to jeopardize 2025 knowing how good James Cook is for beyond 20. Like, you only get so many seasons, to crack at this. So like, I'm with you. I think running backs are easier to find, even though this is a good class. I still look, if the Bills end up keeping all their picks, I still wouldn't mind if they took a
Mhm.
stab at somebody on day 3, but it's not a must for me.
Yeah, it could only be a must if you see Cook go and then you end up in round 2 and Henderson's still on the board. And then I'm like, I would not hate that because he could be a lot of fun. But yeah, I think if they keep everybody, you could still see someone taken and just kind of like a practice squad stash if you can get away with that. Depends on the player. But otherwise, go with what you know and hit it again next year because you're very likely not meeting the price point that James Cook wants. And I can live in that world. But you ready to roll, Dave? Are you
Let's
ready to
roll.
do this? Are you
Let's roll.
excited?
I'm
All right.
excited, and going on Pat's and doing his live one kind of got me. It's a different animal doing the live ones, and you only get one shot at it. Obviously, it's for fun, but it is tricky at times.
It is tricky. And for all of you joining us tonight, like I said earlier, feel free to take a look at the board with us and let us know who you like. I cannot guarantee we are going to take who you like. So if you want to yell at me. Don't yell at David. He's a nice guy. He doesn't deserve to be yelled at, but I'm the host of this show, so you can yell at me. And if you notice, the interface looks a little different. I am pulling up the mock draft model from sticktothemodel.com, and this one is awesome. If you have not gotten the opportunity, if you're a fan of mock drafts, to try this one out, I would highly suggest heading to stickthemodel.com and trying it out because it's really good. And some of the filters that you can set on this bad boy are great. Apart from simulation speed, you could set how often people trade, obviously the need versus value balance, which is something you can find on some others, but you can get really in depth and even talk about your team's draft needs, which I think is really cool. I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm going to keep it very basic and just go with some of our presets here, like how it was when I logged onto the site. Maybe I think I modified a little bit of the need versus value balance, but not crazy. So going to keep it very basic, but we got Buffalo selected. We got 7 rounds. We have it at a normal speed to start, and we'll speed it up as we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's start this draft. And yes, Roger Goodell is getting booed as we speak, as we click the start button. Now, what I'm going to do, David, is I'm going to let the top 10 roll out. I'm also, last time I did a mock draft, I told you this offline, David, but we agreed corner in round 1. John is not on the show tonight. I am not listening to that rule. we are going to take whoever the board has for us at pick 30. So if anyone's interested in suggesting trade ideas, you're welcome to do that too. We could give it a shot, but I'm going to let the top 10 play out. I'll pause it just so we can review and see how the board's shaping out. Let's roll. All right. All right. Oh, sorry. Let's get the Bears. There we go. All right. Here's your top 10. Cam Ward to Tennessee, Travis Hunter to Browns, Shadur Sanders goes to the Giants. They take quarterback at 3. Membo to 4. Mason Graham goes to the Jags. Junty to the Raiders. Campbell to the Jets. Carter drops to 8.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Now, a reminder, everybody, mock drafts are not perfect, evidently by this. This man is not falling out of the top 3, in my opinion, but crazier things have happened in the draft, like Michael Penix Jr. Jalen Walker goes at 9. Kelvin Banks Jr. at number 10. So a pretty, apart from the Carter thing, standard top 10. David, at this point, I think we should let it keep going. How do you feel?
Yeah, just let it go for sure.
All right. Do you have a pick you want me to stop at potentially for trades, or are you thinking let it roll?
I think we can just give it a quick look at 24 with the Vikes. They only have 4 picks in this draft. That would get you ahead of teams like Baltimore potentially for picks, get you ahead of get you ahead of some other teams, and they could use some picks. So I always kind of just stop at 24. I also take a quick look at the Rams. I think they're 26 or 27, if I'm not mistaken. But usually 24 is where I start looking.
All right. So yeah, I'll let the board play out. And then once we get to Minnesota, I'll give it a pause and then we could see how it goes. Now, I haven't really messed with trades much on this. I've really been doing standard stock. So we're going to learn that one together unless you have a better approach to it. But let's get to pick 24. All right. So Minnesota at 24. Let's just recap the board now. So outside the top 10, T-Mac goes to San Francisco. As a Ricky Pearsall dynasty owner, please don't do that. I just traded for him. I have a lot of hope for him. So let's not make this one happen. Michael Williams to the Cowboys. Will Johnson goes to Miami, which after today's news about Jalen Ramsey could be a very real possibility for them. Tyler Warren goes to the Colts. That's That's been a very common mock for the Colts because of their
Mhm.
low EPA targeting tight ends. Shamar Stewart, Falcons need pass rush, makes sense. Golden to the Cardinals, him and MHJ and Michael Wilson would be really fun. I could see that. Barron to the Bengals, they need defensive help. Mike Green to the Seahawks would be awesome, assuming he stays in the first round. Colston Loveland to Tampa Bay. Do not do this because then David will. Well, actually, no. I hope they do because then David, you could trade me Kate Otten at a much lower rate.
Yes, yes, I
uh,
could.
Kenneth Grant goes to Denver. That one is interesting because I feel like their interior defensive line is fortified, but DJ Jones is only there for like a couple more years. So I guess if you want to develop the Project D tackle, I could see it. Jackson Dart to Pittsburgh, could see it. James Pierce, pass rush, help the Chargers after losing Joey Bosa, makes sense. Josh Simmons to Green Bay, I could also see. Here we are at Minnesota. So, David, you wanted to pause here.
Mhm,
If this was draft night and
mhm.
the board fell this way, how would you feel about potentially calling Minnesota? Do you think there is an urgency to do so? Is there anyone you really like that we should try this for, or are you interested in just letting it go?
Yeah, I mean, like, the pick I was looking at, that Cardinals pick, if you scroll back up with Golden, that was kinda the one I was hoping maybe would slide. Kenneth Grant's a very popular name with
Mhm.
Bills Mafia right now. He gets picked at 20, and if you s and you mentioned Miami taking Will, so that's more of a pipe dream anyway. Michael Williams is an interesting one. Thought he maybe could make his way to the Bills. I just want to take a quick look at who's available, but it
Sure thing.
certainly doesn't seem like it fell great for what I would want to do in from a trade
Mhm.
perspective. So you know, Campbell, I love Campbell, but I don't think the
Yeah,
Bills are going to take a linebacker. Starks is very interesting
he
to
is.
me. Harmon, Nolan. To me, you've got this is how I'm viewing this. You've got Starks available. You've got Donovan E available. You've got Nolan available. You've got Harmon available. And obviously we know Trey Amos is available. So I'm probably going to let it ride here and then just maybe take a quick pause at the Rams at 26 after these next two picks. But otherwise, I'm probably going to just let it ride to pick 30.
Yeah, I agree. There's no one here that I'm running to the table to try and trade for. It just like they're all talented players. Like if any of this top five fell to them, I could see a justification for taking them. I personally think the board is falling. I mean, Kenneth Grant's the one that I was really hoping could slip, but it seems like most mocks got him going in the teens at this point, or like very early 20s, and it seems like a bit of a reach now. I would hope
Mm-hmm.
that that isn't the case because if he's there at 30, I'm very okay with taking him. Also,
Yep.
side note, you guys see how we can actually look at the board on this draft simulator? Isn't that nice? We
It is
can
nice.
actually see the players we're going to draft. We don't have to guess anymore or go back and scroll up. That's a really cool
You know
thing.
what? I say let's just let it ride to 30. We'll take our chances.
All right. And we let it ride to 30. Ugh. He's still
Oh,
my beating heart.
that's okay. That's okay. Two guys I really loved, Donovan E and why am I blanking on the other? Oh, Derek Harmon got
Mhm.
picked. I would have been very, very tempted to take Donovan at pick
Right.
30. Gets picked one
Oof.
pick before at Washington. Obviously, Starks to the Ravens. That's just a big FU to us as well,
Yeah.
because I really like Starks. Harmon to the Texans is interesting. I think that makes sense. They got a lot out of Tim Settle. They got a lot out of their defensive tackles. It's a good fit uh for them, I believe, with D'Amico there. So
Mhm.
let's see. Let's go to the board. I mean, there's a couple names that really stand out to me. Walter Nolan is the obvious one here, and I
Yeah.
think then you start looking at the three corners there. Revel, Hairston, and Amos are the other three that kind of stand out to me.
Mhm.
I
Now,
this is tough. I mean, you've got some really good corners kind of lined up there. You got Revel, you got Hairston, you got Amos, you got AZ Thomas, you've got Morrison, but I don't think any of those guys make it to pick 56, to be honest. There's
no.
Judge's guy, Noel Williams, probably too early for him. But
Yeah.
it's going to be really hard in this situation to
So
pass on Walter Nolan, and I think that's
if
who I would go with.
So I for Walter Nolan, I think he's going to be a stud. The only thing is, do you think there's any positional redundancy? Because even though I'm not saying he couldn't play, a Bills one tech like how they actually assigned Daquan Jones's role, I do have some concerns over if he holds up consistently at the pro level in a role that isn't a three. but I'm also willing to find that out. However, what I will say is we do have 5 trade offers down here. And I
Oh,
am kind of interested to see if we
let's take a
have
look.
anyone.
Let's
Yeah,
take a
like why
look.
not?
I will
So,
say this. I will say this too about Walter Nolan, right? And this is just one simulator.
yeah.
Uh, PFF's big board back in February, they had Walter Nolan as their 19th overall prospect. They now have him as their 8th overall prospect. Dane
Mhm.
Brugler has Walter Nolan as his 31st overall prospect and 4th overall defensive tackle. So, I mean, right there, I think the value's good for him, but let's take a look at the trade offers.
Yeah, so these I'm not gonna lie, they kind of suck. um, Carolina is offering pick 57 and future picks. I think, yeah, it's pretty much just what like mid second round or like semi early second round and future capital. I'm not interested in moving from 30 unless it's like the Giants coming back, unless it's like the Browns or like even the Bears at 39 would probably be the lowest I'm willing to go. I'm good on passing on these unless you see one you like, David.
No, I'm good on passing on these. I mean, you take a look at Nolan, had the second best run defense grade of all interior defensive linemen per PFF in 2024. He's only 21 years old. I do think he's a fit archetype wise as far as like size that the Bills would be interested in. Um, you know, he's not necessarily one of my like pound the table guys, but I also know that there's future value in this draft at the interior with guys like CJ West, with
Mhm.
guys like Alfred Collins, right? With guys like Joshua Farmer. So there are options here. I would have taken Harmon, I think, if he was available. Nolan would be really tough to pass up on here, but I want to hear, give me your argument for taking one of the cornerbacks here. Because I think the argument is
It's
that none of them are going to be available at 56.
exactly this. It's exactly that. And I think at like if this board had Harmon or Grant, I'd be running for either or. Walter Nolan, I like. I just again, if you're taking him, what you're telling me is you're taking a one tech later in the draft, and that's kind of selling yourself out for 2 picks. I would do that. I want them to double dip at this position. And I think Nolan has a lot of potential. I just worry again that he's not the true like you could find someone who's just even despite their frame can be a really stout run defender at the next level, but can he be? Like, do you trust them to fix the issue they have on the interior defensive line with the explosive runs they give up with someone like Walter Nolan? And the stats are good, but again, is the frame going to hold up at the next level? Do you trust him to slide over to one tech next to Ed Oliver and be able to do that consistently as a rotational option? If we had like no questions on this defense. And we wanted to just be spoiled and get a rotational 3 tech like him, I'd be all for it. I'm a little weary, and I think I'm okay with shoring up the secondary with one of the corners here. Even if it is a slight reach to me, you're making your secondary just stout. You have the peace of mind of knowing you have someone opposite of Benford. And that to me is really good to build around. Because again, once you get to the second round, there are run stuffing D tackles, there are safeties. I
Mhm.
worry about the cornerback drop off more than I worry about the DT drop off when to talk about functional level that can perform with a high floor.
And I tend to agree, and that's why in most mock drafts I'm taking a corner with the Bills pick. So then the question becomes: do you take a guy with the amazing upside and who's on your show graphic for tonight, Siobhan Revel,
Yeah.
or do you go for a guy like Maxwell Hairston or Trey Amos here? To me, I think it comes down to one of those three guys with this
Yeah.
pick: Hairston, Amos, or Revel. And you know, maybe we take whoever, like who do you like out of the group? Obviously Trey Amos, if you watch the No Matter What show
Yeah.
of the Air Raid on Thursday, hint hint, he's going to be my no matter what corner.
Yeah.
Um I am a little hesitant on Revel just because like what is he going to come in and do day 1? I don't question his ceiling and what he could be potentially, but I think pro ready to start day 1, like Amos seems to be the guy for me.
Yeah.
But I
No, I'm in complete lockstep with you. I like Revel a lot, but the knee injury scares me as someone you're putting a first round pick into. Hairston, I think, has high potential, but I'm more comfortable with him as like a mid second round guy. Amos to me is slot him in, and I think you're getting a pro-ready guy. Like, even if he's not fully polished yet, I like his ability in press. I like his ability in
Yep.
zone. I think he uses his reach really well. I think he has good timing when it comes to jumping routes. He's a guy I like just because I feel like even though there's no such thing as a sure thing, I feel like it's a safe pick. Also, I put this comment up because you're 100% right, John Wolf. This is going to be a long mock draft, so
Well,
buckle up, folks.
I don't think we'll take this long on the other on the other picks, but yeah, I think Amos as a fit is the best fit of these guys. So
Yeah,
for me right now, you've got Alfred Collins available, you got Tyleek Williams. There's some other defensive tackles I like CJ West.
yeah.
I think I'm taking Amos here. If maybe I could trade down 5 or 6 spots, I would maybe consider that and still just
Right.
see who was there. But I feel like Amos is probably the surest bet here to me.
And our trade offers did not have, anything going back to like, and because I see this comment from Eddie Gomez, all of the trade offers were like in the 50s or like mid 40s. I don't want to move down that far because again, like we do that, and I feel like we're going to miss out on at least a few of them. Now, don't get me wrong, if we fell to pick 40 and we had Thomas here, I'd be okay with that. But again, like I think I'm for just taking the quarter now. So I'm taking Amos. I know you said he's a short thing. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Or not a short thing. I'm sorry. Pick you'd
I
like.
mean, I think he's just a great fit, right, for what the Bills have as far as need and as far as fit in their scheme. I just think he's a really good fit. So, I mean, wouldn't be upset at all if he was the pick, even with a guy like Nolan on the board. So,
The gavel is coming down till
the gavel's coming down. So let's go with
let's
Amos.
do it.
Yep.
Judge isn't here, but the gavel's still coming down. We take Trey Amos in round 1. That is pick 30. So, and I think it's like, again, we can only predict it so much, but I think it's very possible that the board falls like that to them. And look who went right before us once again. Alfred Collins at 55 to the charge. This draft board is not being kind to us. So, sorry, guys. Looks like the run stuffer's gone, but there might be others. So, first things first, in our trade offers, we have six trade offers. So, Denver wants to give us pick 67 for 56. Green Bay wants to give us 63, so we don't move that far back. New Orleans, 56. We'd get 71 and 93. The Giants get 56 and we get 65 and pick 99. That one is interesting.
Wow.
But Philly, 56, 64, and 96. So we get a third rounder.
Yeah, I love that Philly offer, man. It's better than the Giants offer. Let's see what's available. Let's see what's just available because I really okay. So,
oh man, this board sucks.
just go click on DTs really quick.
All right. I love that CB's crossed off. That's cool too. Like in case you forgot. Now I want to say I like Norman Lott. I like Farmer. I like Walker, even though I know there's a lot of fear for Walker. There's a few on here I'd be willing to take, but like this middle of the pack of the DTs, I feel like if you got that third round pick, you could get any one of these guys.
I love the idea of getting that third rounder and like taking a guy like CJ West in that third round. Or even like Jamari Caldwell if you wanted to make sure you got your guy. I think we take the Eagles offer right here.
Yeah, I saw that and I'm like, you know what? Because we have pick 62. So like we're still going to pick in the second round. Now you just slide back a couple spots, but you get that third back. I think it's a compensatory at that. No, it's not. It's further back, but it's a good offer. I think Brandon Beane is going to try and get back into the third round too. So I'm with this. I'm going to accept this trade.
Yep, love that move. Let's do it.
All right. Look at us, guys. This board might suck, but our decision making doesn't, at least in the eyes of some. To some others don't like Trey Amos in our chat, Dave. They're very anti-Amos.
I mean, we're not gonna make everyone happy here, so that's okay.
No, like I said, we're gonna get screamed at. It's okay. Pick 62. So I don't think we're taking a tight end this early, but I do have to say I do really like Elijah Arroyo. Some receiving options here, but also there's someone I see that pops out to me. Two people actually that pop out to me, and it's these two edge rushers, Jordan Birch and Josiah Stewart. Now, like I said, I am pretty confident that at this point in time, in the third round with that pick we just got from Philly, we're getting a DT and we'd find a quality one that's a run stuffer. So you brought up AJ Epineza earlier. We also got to remember, too, that while Michael Hoyt's 6-game suspension, but he'll be here for a few years. Joey Bosa is a 1-year deal.
Yep.
And I don't think he's a player that, even if he has a good year, sticks around for more than just the season. I think
Yep.
he's a guy who's coming in here on this is your contract, try to play up to the incentives. If you have a great year, go test the market. If you don't, it's low risk for us. We can move on. So the D-line, especially at the edge, is still a need. And it's a need for long-term options, and it's need for dogs. Both of these guys are dogs, but I like Birch. I think Birch is a fun power rusher, a bit of a late bloomer. Josiah Stewart, who I just saw your comment saying, I will convince Joe to take him. So that is a spoiler. I do really like him as well. Even if his frame is, gives you some questions, he plays with so much, like a high motor, so much power. I like him a lot.
We talked about before this draft, if you want to change the attitude of this defense, he is the guy to do it. And he was one tackle for loss away from having 4 straight tackle for loss seasons. He was a transfer, ended up at Michigan, had career high in sacks in 2024. The dude is, per their coaching staff, one of the hardest working players on that. I know he's smaller. I get that, right? And this is a reason why he's not going to go higher. But from what the Bills need in the room compared to what Stewart is, it's a nice compliment, in my opinion, to what they could have here. So for me, again, I think I would be very comfortable taking him, and not to spoil it further, but this is Judge's no matter what edge here. So I feel like I've
spoiled 2 of them already. 2 on your lists.
I think we got to take Stewart here. I think we take him.
I like Josiah Stewart a lot. I'm comfortable with that. Real fast, though, if we did wait and take someone else, I do think, because we're only 2 picks back, that we could take one of if you like any of these receivers, and probably still have Stewart. I would be very shocked if Stewart goes before 64. We have 62 and 64 right now because of the trade. So vice versa. Do you want to go for the pass rusher first, confirm that, and then just see what the receiver board looks like after who goes? Because I'm cool with that, or even going edge rusher and then maybe going for like DT, like Josh.
I'm taking the guy I want here just to secure and know I've got him, and I know that there's going to be options for me in a couple picks. So that's my thought process.
Nick using my government name, Joseph. Take CJ West later.
Yeah.
Damn, the only person who calls me Joseph is my mom. That's crazy. That's so funny. I love that. Also, I love these shows so much because I just want to point out exactly what I was talking about earlier about some people will love it, some will hate it. Love Stewart. Stewart is a dog. Stewart is a dog. Stewart is small.
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, Noah is not wrong. He's not
wrong
the biggest guy, but the dude can get to the quarterback, and he, again, attitude changer, swagger changer for the defensive side of the ball. That guy will bring it to your defense. So that's why
I agree. Oh, wait, wrong guy. Whoops. I almost just took Birch. That was not going to be a sabotage. Stewart, we're good. I almost jumped the gun. That would have been totally on me. I would have had to compensate and take the other one. Josiah Stewart, welcome to the Buffalo Bills. Let's do it. All right, so Green Bay took Trey Harris, which, damn it, I was hoping Trey Harris
That's
would
fine.
fall.
Honestly, I like Trey Harris, but I do think there are other guys that fit kind of maybe what the Bills need a little bit more than Harris. I do like Harris, but I'm not bent out of shape that he went. Yeah. It's okay.
And we do have Royals on the board, who we know met with the Bills, as I said earlier, with 4.4 speed. We also have Josh Farmer, who I have had multiple meetings with. Swinson is still here. I'm not going to take Swinson now that we took Stewart, but goddamn, I love Braden Swinson. Kevin Winston Jr. is one that I had my eye on too, because you talked about safety too, and I know the injury is a worry, but when he is healthy, he's a lot of fun to watch. How do you feel about him? Do you have any interest? What are you thinking with this board we have in front of us?
Winston is super enticing to me. He's kind of a prospect that there's not a lot of consensus on, to be honest. Like, you look at Dane Brugler's the Beast draft guide, and he has Winston as his 83rd overall prospect, albeit his 4th overall safety. And then you look at PFF's rankings back in February, they had on their big board Winston as their 71st overall prospect, but as recently as this week, he's moved up all the way to their 29th overall prospect. To me, graded out really good as a run defender. Coverage grade, not so much. I don't know that it's a fit necessarily, even though I do
Mhm.
love the player. So I think personally, I'm looking at potentially a wide receiver, a defensive tackle, or man, my favorite safety in this draft, Andrew Makuba, is sitting there as
Yep.
well. So
I had a love letter last week talking about Makuba. Just you talked about the nasty factor. That's the
mhm,
nasty factor. That
yeah,
player would bring it 100%. He is he flies to the ball in the open field. He's always reading it. Not always, I can't say that, but more
mhm,
often than not, you find him in the correct space. You find him reading the quarterback's eyes whenever he's coming up. But if he's playing deep too, just his timing to get on top of routes and be there to help in coverage is awesome. He's like always making plays on the ball. He's someone that I feel like if you're talking process instincts, someone you want to kind of fill that vacated hide role. I'm not saying a
mhm.
1-for-1 replacement, but if you're looking for security and someone as a long-term youth option in the secondary at safety, I like him. I love him actually. He might be my favorite player. Besides, I do really like Xavier Watts, but I don't think he's going to fall to us.
Yeah. So like we go to wide receiver. I think right now I'm like kind of between three positions. I'm between wide receiver, safety, and interior D line. But I do know we have what is it, pick 96 coming up.
Mm,
Um, so let's just take a quick look at the defensive interior because I don't really maybe want to risk missing out on a
I
guy
comboed
here.
them, so this is it?
Okay.
Oh wait, whoops. No, I thought I did. Unless they have them ranked. Yeah, I did. Okay. So yeah, because it's Knoll, Beck, Royals, Bond. Uh, is it a Yomenor? I actually have never heard it pronounced. Is it
I
Aomanor?
am
How
a
do you say it?
I am an or. Yep.
Aomenor? Okay. Farmer, Walker. So yeah, pretty much. It's going.
A lot of
I have
safeties
all.
available, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
Man. I don't know. I think it would be really tough for me to pass on Farmer here.
Mm,
To me, I think interior is getting a little thin. I know CJ
yeah.
West may be available. Farmer being a visit for the Bills, being a fit for them. I think archetype wise, he fits exactly sort of what the Bills.
Bill's one
But
tech size
again,
profile.
yeah, but again, it's like what they need is someone potentially who can be really effective at stopping the run. And I'm not sure that that's not necessarily his calling card, right?
Yeah, he's
Um,
more of like a penetrator. It
yep.
feels like he can get upfield, but are you concerned about his anchor and if he can maintain gap integrity? Is he going to get blown off the ball or blown off if he gets like double teamed? Can he shed blocks consistently? Do you want to find out if he can? Because it's still a question mark.
I still,
I'm
I think I do want to. I think I'm willing to go with Farmer here because I don't want to run the risk that he's gone, obviously, and CJ West is gone. Because if you filter back on just the interior D line only, you start to see, okay, CJ West is there at 120. I mean, maybe Jamari Caldwell later, maybe Ty Hamilton later, but when Josh Farmer's sticking out on the board to me right now as a pretty good value here, um,
okay.
man, I think I think my only hesitation is do we think that between now and pick 96 that 5 defensive tackles will be picked, right? Because what are we at right now? We're at
Yeah.
62, right?
Yeah.
So you're
64.
saying 64. So we're saying 32 picks basically, right? Are 5 defensive tackles going to get picked. I do like Vernon Broughton though, so he's down
Yeah,
there.
I like him too, even though again, like a more of a three tech, but
You know what?
uh,
Let's roll the dice. Let's mix it up a little. It's a mock draft. Let's go for either a wide receiver or a safety here. Let's see what the chat. Let's see what the chat
yeah,
likes here.
chat. This is your time to shine. Well, we're here talking. I want to see what you want. I know a few people said Farmer. I've seen some people talk about Winston. Now, I am a psychopath. I would take Makuba here, but that's just because I really love the player. Is he actually second round? Maybe.
Second,
Maybe.
third. I think he's second, third. That's
I
kind
call
of
him
his
early
range.
third. That's
Yep.
kind of where I feel like he'd go, which is why I would take him now because it's basically the early third. You're at the end of the second round, and it's just why not? So someone says punter, but we do have stick to the model. Shout out, thanks for joining us. This sim is awesome. Sorry I complained about the board earlier, but that's not your fault. You didn't sabotage the board.
Uh, I'm I'm gonna make an executive decision here.
Okay, all right.
I say it's a mock draft, people. Let's have fun. Let's take Makuba.
I like the way you think. I'm sorry to whoever was asking for Royals. I do apologize. But like Lord said, we'll never be Royals. Andrew Makuba to the Bills. Let's go.
People are gonna hate it, but I don't care. I don't care.
Dude, I'm telling you, they'll love him when he comes to Buffalo. I'm saying when. I'm speaking into existence. I'm gonna
Like we
and
just
I know, like,
drafted 3 guys that will immediately change the makeup of this defense. I love that for the Bills. I really do. All
all
right.
right. Well, let's look at what. Oh man, if we didn't take edge rusher, I'd be all over Oladipo here. But let's take a look. CJ
Oh,
West.
yes. Oh,
Oh, look
that
at
is
this.
music
Look
to
at
my
this.
ears.
I'm
That's
liking it.
music to my
So
ears. Let's
now
see.
talk
I'm
to me
just
about West, David. I'm actually curious
yes.
before we get into it further. You've mentioned him a few times. The chat's mentioned him. What do you like about CJ West? And do you think he does fit that kind of Bills interior archetype or
Well,
maybe something they could go to?
Well, this is what I like about West. Number one, he tested amazingly well athletically. 9.15 RAS, even at his height of 6'1". I like that he's 6'1, 315. I think size-wise, he plays with really good leverage. He can get under the guy's pads. And really, for what the Bills need at the interior, they need a guy who can absolutely come in and stuff the run. This is a guy who's moved up draft boards. PFF had him as their 156th overall prospect in February. He's up to 74 for them overall right now. Eighth best run defense grade of all interior D line in the class with at least 400 defensive snaps. Fourth highest stop percentage of all interior defensive line in the class with at least 150 run defense snaps. And he's truly, I think, a fit for what the Bills need. Single handedly kind of totally remade and improved that Indiana run defense to me. I think, you can make the case for other guys here like Caldwell or maybe even Ty Robinson, but I gotta put pound the table for my guy CJ West here.
Yeah.
And I think with those first 4 picks, getting that third rounder and being able to add that playmaking safety like Makuba, even with then still addressing the interior, the edge, and corner, to me, I would absolutely love it. So for me, I would take CJ West right here.
I can't see really any reason to go against you on this. Like, even if I look at wide receivers available, I'm not in love with anyone here besides these two. But not even in love with, just more so like I could see it. But considering the board value for both, I think it's possible they could be there at 109. I'm willing to find that out. I also think that Felton's positional rank in this mock compared to PFF's is really funny because Felton falls to like the 7th round in theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Here, he's valued at 101 and he could go much
There
earlier. So
there are wide receivers I think that could make it, right? Kyle Williams, Torrey Horton, Jalen Lane. Those are all guys like Keandre Lambert Smith later on in the draft is a deep threat that I think could fit with the Bills' need. And to me, it just makes more sense value-wise to me to take the run stuffing defensive tackle you need with knowing that Daquan Jones is gone likely after this year because he's probably not going to be re-signed,
right.
and versus taking your a wide receiver 5, right? So
Yeah.
to me, it's a no-brainer. I'm taking West.
And I will
West
take
goes east. I like
West
it, Ralph
goes east. I
Wilson
was
Sr.
Yeah, I like that comment. Welcome to the
Let's
Buffalo Bills,
yes.
TJ West. This is okay. You know what? The board might have been favorable in the second round, but I'm cool with it. Now, okay, I need to see something real fast. I don't think it's
Ooh,
likely, but I need to see something.
Torrey Horton and Kyle Williams both still available, by the
So is
way.
Noah Williams.
Oh man, Judge would have a field day.
Jacob Parrish went. I was going to see if Jacob Parrish was sitting here because I was like, man, if he could fall to 109, that'd be awesome. But let's look at wide receivers now. Let's get a little different here. So yeah, we're at pick 109, and both of them are here now.
I mean, I'm taking Kyle Williams 10 times out of 10 here, although I absolutely love Torrey Horton. I mean, Torrey Horton, 4-phase special teamer, absolute production from him his last 2 years at Colorado State. He did end 2024 with a knee injury, but he did come back and he did do drills at the combine and he tested out actually really well, ran a 4.4, I think better than what he was expected to run. Kyle Williams also ran a 4.4, which I think is better than what he expected to run. Another guy that with just monster production. But to me, from a separation standpoint, I don't know that there's anybody better than Kyle Williams in this draft. Size-wise, he's not necessarily going to wow you, but as a separator and as a guy who can do anything on the football field from the wide receiver position, it's Kyle Williams for me. And again, I would be 10 times out of 10 taking him right here.
Now, this is a mock draft, so we're going to have fun, and I will take Kyle Williams, but I do have to say, if I'm thinking right now who I think the Bills would probably take if they were choosing one, it might be Horton, just for, again,
Yeah,
the
they
curse of the
could,
special
and I
teams
like Horton.
component.
I like Horton a
Yeah,
lot. Like, I wouldn't be mad if Kyle Williams was on the board in the real draft and Torrey Horton was on the board and the Bills decided to go with Torrey Horton, I would be totally fine with it. I mean, the
yeah.
dude, talk about special teams, like great special teamer, but also like underrated as a route runner, really good sideline awareness as well for Torrey Horton. His footwork is
Mhm.
second to none of players in this draft and did it with, some questionable quarterback play as well. So to me, yeah, you could make the case for him and I wouldn't be mad about it.
I wouldn't be mad either, but it's a mock draft. Kyle Williams. We gotta inherit the name. Welcome to the Buffalo Bills. This
I
is
mean,
all
he
right. I'm liking the way this is going, David. I'm
yeah.
having fun with this board now.
Yeah, and look, we're moving along faster than we did on the first
Yeah,
pick. So it's all good.
it's not snail speed. So let's see what we
No.
got here. So now, you got Giddens
Ooh.
from Kansas State. I know John really likes him. He actually
I
mentioned him to me.
Smile Monday to me is great value here. Coverage backer, a blitzer, obviously a little undersized, but played on that Georgia defense. The dude has that sideline to sideline speed at linebacker that the Bills obviously have coveted with guys like Bernard and Milano. Absolute rangy, as it says here in his scouting report, pursuit speed. The one thing you worry about with Smile London is his ability to diagnose quickly. He's more of a reactive player, but man, like for a guy to wait in the wings behind Milano, I know linebacker is probably one of the least pressing needs on this team. But I'd be tempted to take Smile London here. So let's see who else is
Yeah.
available. Maybe a double
So
dip somewhere else.
yeah, I'm looking at corner real fast. Shout out to Stick to the Model again. Thank you for watching. This is an awesome sim, and he says we'll add speed toggle mid draft soon. Fear not. So appreciate that one because I was actually going to ask that question. So that's good to know. I'm looking at Kobe Bryant. I just think again, there's a certain kind of tenacity he plays with. He's a very physical guy, and
Certainly.
he doesn't
Yep.
take plays off. And I think again, just implementing the same mindset that we talked about earlier. This is a player who could do it, but also corner is the position I think they're likeliest to double dip at. I think you're going to see a repeat of 2022 where it was Elam and Benford, and now you might go with someone like if you do get an Amos, then in the later parts of the draft, do you go for like a Noah Williams who does well in man? Do you go for a Kobe Bryant who's still working on everything? But again, I like the floor this player has. Do you want to wait and go later in the draft like you did with Benford and maybe wait on like O'Donnell Fortune, who I know Judge likes, and Robert Longerbeam from Rutgers is someone I often mock to the Bills? For
Bilal
me,
Cohn is an interesting name too. Like a lot of places don't have him, but he from Western Michigan, he is a
mm,
guy that I think we need to also keep an eye on. 7.79 RAS, but he's more of a press man style. I get it. But as a tackler, he's 6'3", 180. I think he's maybe more of a safety prospect. I like Kobe Bryant. If you're going to double dip at a position, obviously corner is one that you'd like to maybe double dip at. What I love about Kobe Bryant is his willingness to come up and help in the run game. And we
mhm,
saw that with Rasul Douglas at times on some key short down yardage situations on defense, by the way,
yeah,
for the Bills in the last couple of years. Kobe Bryant's not going to be afraid to come up and stick his nose in. And like you talk about having three really good corners for years to come between Trey Amos, who we drafted, Kobe Bryant, and Christian Benford, then you don't worry about Dane Jackson, obviously, in that
yeah.
scenario. And you have Jamarcus Ingram as your CB4 and going down the line. That to me is a really, really strong room. I'd be open to it. But what
Yeah.
other positions are you thinking about here?
So I still, and I have said it's a sneaky need in the past, along with tight end, but linebacker is one I think they're going to anticipate having to find depth for the eventual departure of Milano sooner than later. And I know Dorian Williams is waiting in the works, but you don't want to have a significant drop off if you do promote Williams. So I think I actually am on board with going with Munden here and just taking that while you have, a few decent options on the board. And then I think you can run the risk of waiting on a corner because I think our next pick is 169. So I'm cool with going with Munden here. I'm okay with the linebacker. I think again, just fortify the front, fortify your second level, fortify the
Mhm.
bits and pieces you can with
Mhm.
all the capital you have. So I'll go for him if that's who you like going for.
Yeah, I like him, and I think like gives you some insurance for Spectre. It gives you some insurance possibly for Olafosio, who you don't necessarily know what he's going to be. Milano maybe not going to be here beyond 2025, even though he is under contract. When
Mhm.
people see this mock draft, they're going to know it's an air raid hour, an air raid hour, an air raid hour influence mock draft. I am trying to get some of Judge's guys in here too, so
Yeah.
we've certainly hit on a lot of guys that we like. And Munden is, um, he is a player that I don't think a lot of people know about. Lance Zierlein has him as a third round grade, by the way. But I think a lot of people should get to know him because I think he's going to go higher than maybe some people even think, and and maybe don't even know who he is. So
Yeah.
anyway, my little
And
spiel
the
on
Bills have
Munden.
they've kind of played their hand on linebacker. I mean, you've seen some of their pre-draft visits. I know they had Dolek at his at the local pro day, and they also did I think they had a meeting with Pooh Paul. So it's like they know linebacker is something they're gonna have to address. And I do think it's likely that day 3 they would attack it, maybe with one of their earlier picks. Like I could see it in the 5th, but I personally don't think it's going to be in the top 3 unless it's like a knockout, like insane value. Like if Campbell somehow fell to the second round to them in like 56, I don't think you could say no to that. But I don't think that's likely. I think trenches and the secondary are likelier than hitting linebacker early. But I'm definitely on board with taking somebody. And it feels like when you get to the later rounds of this draft, there's just stout options for depth that I'm okay with going for because the risk is low. The potential payoff could be high. And if it's not, you hit it again next year. You can find another linebacker. So, also, I like the development of linebackers in the Bills' defense. I mean, we've seen it with Bernard,
Mhm.
we've seen it with Dorian Williams. Balin Spector gets hurt, but when he's healthy and can actually,
Mhm.
kind of like diagnose runs and play
Mhm.
with instinct, he's fun. So,
Yep.
I like linebackers in this Bills defense, and therefore I'm cool with them taking one and developing one, and cool with that going forward if it doesn't work out this year. But yeah, this is our
And I
board.
think,
And
and I think Munden, right? Like is a nice young pairing to go with a Dorian Williams, who's kind of an opposite type of player as him. So to me, I think it's a really nice fit. Tight end. Oh man, you got two. I'm gonna say you've got both mine and Judge's. No matter what tight ends are on the board, but I'm not gonna tell you who they are for sake
oh
of
no, you're gonna make me guess. Well,
for.
one of them, I'm just gonna go with the Iowa guy because Iowa is a tight end factory. So I'm just gonna play the safe pick here and say one of you guys really likes Luke Lackey, but I don't know if that's the truth. Maybe. Am I not
uh,
allowed to know?
you are, and it's not. He's not
Oh,
on our list. But I also think it's too early to take a guy like that, which is fine. Um, Let's just take a look at the overall board, the overall who's
yeah.
available.
So
We've
we start at
got
Kobe King from
ooh,
Penn State.
Brashard Smith is interesting at running back. I think highest receiving grade of any running back in the class with at least 100 rushing attempts. Also graded out pretty well as a pass blocker
Mhm.
last year. Jarquez Hunter is another guy I really like at running back from Auburn. He has that long speed. Um, Man,
Yeah,
there's some interesting guys.
this is kind of a pick your favorite. Now, we're doing a mock. I want to take people in the actual draft. This is where I think Bean's trading for next year, like he did last year. He's going to
Mhm.
try and, put picks together to try and get fifth in the next year's draft for trade ammo. Like this is just what he does. He tries to keep the cupboard stacked. So I think when you get to the 169, 170, 173 range, like that is where you're going to see him make moves. But I mean, I don't know. I'm cool with going for Smith here. If you want to just like for the sake of the mock and shore up the running back room, I'm willing to
Well,
do it.
let's take a look. Let's take a look at our other double dip position candidate, which I think is interior D line, and see what's available there.
hmm
Cam
Definitely
Jackson's
more like
interesting.
conventional, like one tech profile, run stuffers, not three down guys. Not really a lot of
Mhm.
pass rush promises. Cam Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, is the very large D tackle.
Yeah, he's good. I think
Very
he's around 315. Anthony did some film cut up on him.
yeah.
Tight end, I think, is a position that could be addressed here. Uh,
Yeah. I don't think any of these guys are going to be gone though. Like
no, I don't
any
think
of the
so
tight end
either.
prospects.
Go back
I'm cool
to
with hitting looking at corner again too, like just seeing what it looks like because we just
oh
took
yeah,
linebacker.
true. Yeah, that's actually a good point. I keep forgetting we did not double dip at corner.
OD Fortune is still
Cone is it?
there.
OD Fortune is available. Wally is an interesting corner. Justin Wally from Minnesota.
Mhm.
Judge likes him. Um, those are all interesting options. Wally, Wally's an interesting guy. 49 games at Minnesota, 7 career interceptions, 27 passes defended, um, 2 interceptions and a pick six in 2024. Allowed the 5th lowest completion percentage in 2024 of draft eligible corners with at least 250 coverage snaps and only 41.8%. So Justin Wally, he'd be someone I'd consider, but I think we could probably wait on him, to be honest.
Yeah,
Bilal Cohn is, I don't know about the fit. I do like him. Man, this is tough because I feel like the best value right now is a guy like Rashard Smith or a guy like
right.
Jarquez Hunter. Um,
I'm thinking running back here again, just for the sake of the mock, because of the value and because of if we were to take Smith and you are getting pass blocking capabilities from this running back, that does make him pretty valuable. And even though I don't think they're going to carry 4, maybe that doesn't mean I don't know. Like if they were to do this, I think it would because they planned on or did move James Cook. But it's nice to have the insurance. You know what I mean? So I'm cool with just going Smith here because I think we're only a couple picks away from this. So like the
yep.
board's going to look pretty similar. So I say let's just do it and then go look at the
Yep.
corner room again.
I really like Brashard Smith, especially as like with his pass blocking, with his receiving ability. Yeah. And if something were to happen to Ty Johnson, God forbid, like I think he could fill that
Mhm.
role as well. So I think in a deep running back class, that's pretty good value to get a guy like Smith here at that pick. So I'm good with it.
Now I want to look. This is our corner and this is our DL. So yeah, I mean, I'm cool with using a DL pick here on someone who, again, would just be a rotational run stuffer if that's really their ceiling. Because you can't have, in my eyes, with the way the Bills want to exist on offense, too many guys that can keep teams from running on the interior and in turn, not giving up the yardage that teams want to get on explosive plays, being able to fortify that and forcing teams to be one dimensional when they run, and being able to give the Bills the opportunity to come off the field on third down earlier in a drive where now your offense could take control of a game. I think it's something I expect them to address with this, especially because we took a
Mhm.
DT earlier. And I'm happy to do it again. It's really just of this group. I mean, I know Zeke is someone that they've met with before. I've seen his name mentioned. I believe Cam Jackson is someone that they either zoomed with or met with, but I'm not 100% sure if that's correct. I'm willing to just go D line here, Judge. Or guys, I just called you Judge. I'm so sorry. I'm so
We're
air raid brained.
we're
Yeah,
we're we're becoming one person, me and
I
Judge.
just called him Judge. Yeah, so now I have to call Judge Tilt to make it fair. I apologize, but
I
yes,
mean,
I
so it's like, yeah, it depends. Like, what do you want here? Because like we got CJ West, who's like the run stuffing guy, but you might need 2 of these guys, right? Because
yes,
if you think about next year and you've got Ed Oliver, you've got Dwayne Carter, you know, they brought in Ogunjobi and they've said that he's going to back up Ed Oliver.
mhm,
You don't have a ton of bodies there. I'm okay. Like I like Nazi Stackhouse as well. I think as a one
yeah,
tech, he's a good fit. 6'3", 327, 18th best run defense grade of all interior defensive linemen with 400 defensive snaps. So he's good run defender. 243 again. You probably don't need to take him right now. I'm cool with whatever you want to do here. I'm going to defer to you on this one.
all right. Well, considering considering the board's value right now, which is not much different than when we just picked 2 picks ago, I'm at a point where I'm cool just taking what I think could be
Wait a minute.
potential.
I will say
Oh,
there is a guy that just stood out to me if you go to Edge, and that's
ooh,
Antoine Powell Ryland from Virginia Tech. I really like him.
oh, whoops.
And we hadn't really talked about a double dip at Edge yet.
Which
Um,
would not be the worst thing because again, you have 2 edge spots potentially opening up
mhm,
next year.
yep.
It's just and I mean, how confident are you that you can stash this one player for the whole year and not have to
Yeah,
worry about
that's
poaching.
that's that's the tough thing. Now, the one bit of flexibility you have is Hoyt is gonna be suspended and Ogunjobi
Hmm.
is gonna be suspended, so you could do a little bit of roster gymnastics early in the season. But Powell Ryland, 9.17 RAS, transferred to Virginia Tech from Florida before the 2023 season, 19 tackles for loss and 16 sacks in 2024 after having 15 tackles for loss and 9.5 sacks in 2023. Really blossomed after his transfer, but he was still good before that. Top 13 in both pass rush grade and pass rush win percentage in 2024 of draft eligible edge players with at least 250 pass rush snaps. I am a
Yeah.
fan of Powell Ryland, and edge is a position that I think maybe not the highest priority double dip position, but I think value wise here, it's pretty good value
Yeah,
for him.
I agree with
So,
that, and I'm cool with doing it because again, we have 2 picks after this, and I think we're gonna likely find a lot of options for those like true run stuffers even in the final
yes,
round,
we could
and
get
so I
Najee
think
Stackhouse later if we wanted to. Like, he's going to
yeah.
be available.
So I think
So,
what I'm gonna this is how I'm gonna map it out for the final pick. So I'm gonna take Powell Ryland. Next, I'm gonna go corner and see if O'Donnell Fortune. I think he's still there. I'll grab him or another corner that you like. If you want to go for Wally, we can talk about that. And then
yep.
for the final pick, I'm going for that def one tech and I'm calling it there. How do you feel?
I feel good. The only other consideration I maybe would say is like we could look at tight end as well still with one of these
Oh,
picks.
right. Yeah.
Um, but I think if it was me, I would take Powell Ryland here and then I would see what's available at tight end
So
and the others. So,
let's do that. So now we're down to 173. And again, like this board's gonna look similar. The one I'm looking at is the top two. I'm looking at Halls and I'm looking at Fedone, who I know the Bills have met with. And I've watched a little bit of Fedone. I saw the games at least when he was playing off an injury, so he didn't look smooth. But even despite it, he seemed to be able to find the open field quite well. He seemed to be able to stay on his feet quite well. I liked his hands. I liked the frame. I'm okay with him as a
mhm.
tight end 3. I also like Halls a lot too for kind of similar
I
reasons. But what do you
Yeah,
think?
I'm a Haas fan. Yale transfer. He was second team All Ivy in 2022 and 2023 before coming to Georgia Tech. Obviously, you're getting him to complement the room, as some people have said he could be the best blocking tight end in this draft. You've got Dalton Kincaid, you've got Dawson Knox. Brandon Bean has come out and said like Dalton Kincaid's play strength needs to be better in 2025. The Bills could really use like a gritty, nasty run blocking tight
Yeah.
end in that room. You read
Ooh.
what some of the things Lance Zierlein said about about Hawes, and they talk about his uh, salty demeanor makes him an extension of the offensive line, dips and explodes hips into targets that dig them out, roughed up Florida State defenders most of the game, accurate hands, balance base. Like, to me, as an extension of that offensive line we have, the Bills love to go heavy, use that extra offensive lineman, get some more nastiness in the room for blocking. I would pick Jackson Hawes here.
Yeah, you're selling me. I'm taking Hawes. We're gonna have to pick one to double dip at for the final one,
Yep.
and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
It's the end of the
that's fine.
draft. I'm going Hawes. You talked me into it more. Oh wait, no, we had 177 too. All right, perfect.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect. There we go. There we go. So now
now let's go
you
for the
can do
corner.
whatever you want here. All
I'm gonna
right.
take Wally now.
All right. All
Oh
right.
no, I think this mock draft turned out pretty good, but that could just
And
be
not
biased.
maybe Nazi if he's there at the last
Yeah, we're
pick.
gonna find out. I think it's 206 is the last one we're waiting on. So let's go see. Unless I have that number wrong, I can't remember off the top. There's 10 freaking picks, man. No, I was right. I'm the smartest man alive. Moving on to DL. Let's see. Yeah, he's there.
Cam
All right.
Jackson's there too. So depending on who you like more, um, I mean, both of those guys would be good. I'm fine with whatever guy you want here, to be honest.
Eh, I'll go Stackhouse, and I'm gonna do this fully on helmet scouting. I admit it. I'm going for Georgia. I don't even care. I know that's not how I would actually look at it, and that's not how Brandon Bean's going to look at it. But because we only have 15 minutes left until Ant goes live, I'm going to helmet scout
Yeah,
it.
let's wrap it up.
It's all good.
Spin's coming in saying he wanted to roast our picks. Well,
Well, yeah, you're about to see the final board spin. Don't you worry. And again, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I appreciate everyone in this chat. I hope you like the board that we put
I
together
love it,
here.
to be honest. I absolutely love this draft. But also,
Yeah.
like, I mean, it was very heavily influenced by air raid hour preferences, so of course I'm gonna
Eh,
like it. But
so be it.
man,
But
I think you got to copy that image, man, and save that one down. That's
Yeah,
a good
I'll post
draft.
this on Twitter later. Don't you worry. I'm going to keep this tab up. But so just to review everybody, and for the audio listeners who could not see the screen for this entire episode, at pick 30 we went Trey Amos. At 62, Josiah Stewart. At 64, because we made a trade with the Philadelphia Eagles, we got Andrew Makuba. At pick 96, we took CJ West. At pick 109, Kyle Williams. At 132, Smile Munden Jr. At 169, Brashard Smith. At 170, Antoine Powell Ryland. At 173, Jackson Hawes. At 177, Jackson Hawley. And at 206, Nazir Stackhouse. I like it. I think
Double dipped at interior, double dipped at edge, and got a playmaker in the secondary, double dipped at corner. I mean,
you got a
and
TE3.
you still added a piece at each offensive skill position, right? You still added a running back, you added a receiver, and you added a tight end. I think it's a really well-rounded draft. Pretty happy with this one.
Hang on. We got 2 DTs in this draft. There are literally 2. And you got to understand, too, like a double dip, I know people want to double dip early, but it's more likely than not that they double dip later on. There are 2 DTs on this board, and both of them are perspective. I mean, like, yeah, it's not taking Derek Harmon. Derek Harmon was gone. We got CJ West, and we got Stackhouse. Well, you know what? It's fine. I like this board. But
I mean, we're not going to please everyone. I mean, again, people have kind of dug in, right? They are either like, a lot of people are like, has to be D tackle round 1, or it has to be edge, or it has to be corner. Like, I'm still pretty open to any of the 3, to be honest, in round 1. But I think I just keep coming back to Amos as a fit, plug and play from day 1. And I think, I think we did a good job. I think we did a good job with this one.
No bias here again, but I do think we did a pretty good job. But no, the thing I like about what we ended up with is I can find you a justification for every single player on this board to have some play time this year, right? Like, you start with your top 5, absolutely. Like, Trey Amos would be an everyday starter. Josiah Stewart, same thing, rotational guy. Makuba, I could see as being a starting safety eventually. West on the interior, Williams to round out the wide receiver room. You have, Munden, who I think would be a depth guy and probably practice squad to special teams option to start, but eventually fills in once Milano eventually leaves. Smith, a stash, someone you're taking a little bit of risk with, but if there's injury, then yeah, you could have him come up. And I like the fact that you get fortification in your blocking, but also a semi-explosive runner. Powell Ryland, another one that is just a value pick you could stash, but with Hoyt being out for as many games as he has and needing the rotation and the concern over Boza potentially staying on the field, it's a worthwhile option to invest in. Hawes is your immediate tight end 3. Wally, again, fills out the cornerback room, and Stackhouse, rotational, 1 tech to stop the run.
They really liked the Powell Ryland pick. Actually, it was their favorite pick in this draft based on the grades they gave.
Yeah, they gave us an A-. They gave us a B- for the. Or wait, no, I'm sorry, that's the Trey Amos pick. They gave us a B+ for the draft grade.
I'll take that. I'll
take it too. Thank you, Stick to the Model. You're so nice for liking our draft. And all right, let me see if I do this right, because never know which layout to press after I went full screen. I think it's the 4th one, but I can't quite remember. Do you remember off the top of your head which one prompts the 2 screens?
If it's just me and you on the screen with no sharing, I think it's the 5th one.
Let's see. All right, we got it right, because I totally messed that up when I had John on the last show. And you'd think I'd learn by now, but I did not. But David, that was so much fun. I love doing these mock drafts live. I like the board we put together, and I will share it on Twitter later. I'll be sure to tag you. And I hope all of you in the chat enjoyed this episode. But David, again, you guys have been busting your bottoms every show, putting out really great detailed analysis on each positional group that you think the Bills would address at some point in this draft. And I cannot recommend to all of you enough, if you have not watched Air Raid Hour, to go check it out. But I want to turn it back over to you. I know I just kind of plugged the show already, but give the good people of this chat, of whoever is watching this, whether it's live, after the fact, what you got going on, what they can expect from you.
Yeah, this was so much fun. I feel better about this one than the one I did with Pat live, so that's fine. I like this simulator too, by the way. I think it's a really good simulator. The thing that we did this year, which was a little different, was we really honed in on kind of 4 key position groups, right? Edge, interior, defensive line, corner, and I guess wide receiver and safety, right? We're the kind of the 5 that we really honed in on. So we did do a lot of detailed analysis on those. We pretty much ignored offensive line, didn't spend a ton of time doing that. And because of that, we were able to get into the weeds and a lot deeper in some of these other position groups of apparent need for the Bills. We've got our No Matter What show, which is a pre-recorded show that we're going to drop on Thursday evening. That's where we go through each position. This year we did corner, edge, interior D-line, linebacker, wide receiver, running back, tight end, and safety. So 8 positions. We didn't do any of the offensive line. Judge and I each picked one guy from varying degrees of value and round projection, because we don't obviously want to pick all like top 10 guys because that's not realistic. And then we've got our last show before the draft on Monday at 9, where we're going to actually compare across position groups round by round to see kind of where the value is before we hit our live coverage on Thursday evening for the draft. So it's been a fun lead up to this one. The time has flown by, to be honest, I think between the Super Bowl and now, faster than I can ever remember for draft prep, but it's been a blast. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Always welcome back here, man. Always appreciate your time. And yeah, it's feels like universally agreed that the draft got here so quickly. Like the past 2 seasons, it has felt like such a long, drawn out stretch of time before. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, like that's literally next week, next Thursday it starts. And I'm really excited for all of the coverage we have here on Cover One. And again, if you guys have not checked out Air Raid and you have been thinking about it, this is your sign to do so. But beyond that, we have a plethora of draft coverage coming for the actual draft event itself. If you want to refresh yourself on some prospects, be sure to check out the Film Room. Cover One Buffalo has been doing some draft content. Obviously, this show, as well as others on our network, have been really at it. If you stay on till 9, you'll be seeing some more draft coverage from Mr. Anthony Prohaska on Disguised Coverage, so check it out. But when the draft gets here, we are going to be doing our live streams like we do every season, and it's so exciting. I cannot wait. I hope you are all excited for it too. Under review for the very first time, assuming everything goes well and my desk and computer are working after the big move, will be doing its first ever host of one of the days. On day 3, you can catch Under Review live, and I'm so excited to have that going, and I'm excited to see the many people that we're going to get to cover what is a very fun day of drafting, the later rounds. So again, David, thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate your time. I just have a ton of fun making these mock drafts, and I'm excited to post it on Twitter later and maybe get roasted. For all of you that joined us tonight, I will hang the banner that says Joe Revoir. Thank you all so much for being here again. You are all excellent. I always appreciate getting roasted by the good people who watch this show. If you are feeling kind, as it mentions in our chat, because Ant's posting, feel free to drop a like. It is greatly appreciated by myself, everyone here on the network. If you haven't noticed the t-shirt, check out the One Pass in the description below and sign up if you are interested. $60 a year gets you access to the creators, our Discord channel, and a lot of cool exclusive content, including the shirt. If you are interested, check it out. I will not be going live on Tuesday next week. As we've alluded to, I will be in the process of moving things around and getting settled in a new location, which means you will be seeing a new background. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, and that's exciting and also terrifying, but I cannot wait. So I will be live hopefully by Saturday to get things kicked off for day 3 of the draft. But in the meantime, everybody, again, have fun speculating. I'm so excited for whatever the Bills are going to do in this draft. I hope it satisfies everybody's needs when it comes to defense, offense, whatever it may be. I am, like I said earlier, this is a pivotal one for them. I know you could say that about every draft, but this one to me feels like a very big nexus event for the Bills team for the next few years, whether that be good or bad, depending on how these players develop. And we're just going to have to see how Brandon Beane does. But until we get there, we're going to say goodnight. Stay on YouTube, stay on Facebook, stay on Twitter, wherever you catch your content for Mr. Anthony Prohaska at 9. Good night, everybody. We'll see you soon. Take care. And as always, go Bills.
Go Bills.